Welcome to the Church of Mabus. It's Friday night, 7:08 p.m. Central. Arthur Versluis is here with us. Jay's here with us. I'm here, sort of. And going insane, but I'm here. And you listen to United Public Radio, 107.7 FM New Orleans. And what else? No show next Friday for Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving early.
Yep. Friday, there'll be no show. And we'll come back in December, the first Friday, with a Heart of Ice Wendigo show. Those are creepy from Small Town Monsters. Apparently, it's a crazy story. I saw the documentary. I sent it to you. You got to watch it before the show, hopefully. But some native dude, I guess, I don't want to get into this right now, but he apparently, I guess, ate his tribe. And then that's where that whole story in Canada came from. But it's pretty creepy. That stuff gets pretty creepy, that Wendigo stuff. But the Small Town Monsters, they're coming back on. Jason Hewlett. And who else is coming up? Let me look real quick for December.
Was Jason Hewlett, was he in Stargate? Was he one of those guys in Stargate Atlantis?
No, he did that show on Ogopogo. The Maxim Furyk is coming. That's the Smirling Haunting with the Warrens. And then Leanna Renee Hyber. That's American Gothic, a ghost book. I believe it's from Penguin Books. And then we take 2 weeks and come back January 9th with Mark Heller. Then I got Johan, our friend Johan, the guitar dude, coming on.
Oh, cool.
Just trying to get some of our friends of the show on for January to start back up, But Arthur, it's great to have you here. Alchemical Lightwork, a guide to creating cultures of light. And it's interesting. Hermes is a big influence. And I've been reading the book and really enjoying it. And I'm familiar with the Emerald Tablets. But what can you tell us about Hermes, Trismegistus? Did I say that right? Probably not. But I've heard of him. I definitely know of him.
Yeah, well, the alchemical tradition starts so far back that it's historically unchartable, but its origin in the Greco-Roman tradition is in Hermes, and Hermes, Mercury, is the revealer, and the revealer figure also in the alchemical text that goes back to the period of late antiquity, back in around and before the time of Christ. Emerald Tablet deals with there's a whole variety of different versions, but it and a number of different alchemical texts and traditions tie back to Hermes, and it is a text that's revealed by Hermes. So Hermes, the thrice great, so Trismegistus is thrice great. Is how it translates, and that means in the three different worlds: the physical world, the astral, and the transcendent, all different realms. So that's the origin of alchemy, actually, is through Hermes. So you nailed it.
You're muted, dude.
Edgar was making noises, my dog, so I muted it and forgot. What around what time period was Hermes? What was the year that he was around?
Well, Hermes as a god existed in the pagan tradition back in the period of antiquity. So from the origins are lost to us, but you could say certainly 5,000 BC, 4,000 forward to probably a couple hundred, 300 or 400, when you have the transition from paganism to Christianity. So that period is when the god Hermes was around.
Is he considered a trickster? Why does that come up in my mind with him alive? Is he considered like a trickster?
Well, that element is there. When you cross over, there are a lot of different mysterious things about Hermes. So when you cross over in ancient Greece, when you cross over boundaries, there were these standing stones, and the stones were called herms. And Hermes ties in also with the god of boundaries and the barriers between different realms. All these things are kind of interconnected in deep ways, and it ties also to alchemy, because alchemy is this tradition of creating balance in ourselves and then balance in the world around us. So there's a sense in which Hermes is, you can see Mercury or Hermes as mercurial, a little bit of a trickster figure. That's true.
And I see that light. You talk about light a lot in the book, and that's a big thing that a lot of my experiences have centered around. When I first started doing the show, after I had went through testicular cancer and chemo, and then a few years later, my dad died, and I started to have a lot of strange experiences, from UFO stuff to seeing strange beings. And a lot of those beings that I saw were beings of light, like made of light. And I started to, read some light worker stuff like that Tony Stubbs Ascension book. I still always read that Great Invocation from it. But around that time, I was doing the Celestine Prophecy and Conversations with God, and started reading stuff like that. And at one point, I was in my house, and I had like the Bible playing on Watchword or something. And something told me to go outside. And I went outside and looked, and I was completely sober. And I've seen stuff not completely sober, but this particular time, no nicotine, no weed, no alcohol, completely sober, went outside, turned towards my house, and saw two beings of light as if they'd been in my house and flew straight into the heavens out of the house. And a lot of times I know, I think it's from the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I think that's where it's from. Oh, ye and your shining disk above the horizon. I know the secrets. I think it says of the 7 cows of substance, life, and the soul. I always say that one to the sun, and have some weird sun experiences. Like sometimes I'm like, are you trying to like roast my bald head? Like you seem a little closer than you should be. But I noticed the light concept comes up a lot. And I've seen those light beings in the heavens, like a star, but not a star. So what can you tell us about how does light fit into all this?
Well, you mentioned the alchemical text, the Emerald Tablet, and the Emerald Tablet ends with, this concludes the operation of the sun. And the sun, we think of the sun as typically in modern societies, really as in terms of it being purely material phenomena. But there are other ways of understanding the sun and light. And so alchemy, the way I've been taught it, is a practice of working with light and invoking light. And that light is tied to the light of the sun, the illumination of the sun. And light, of course, is also tied, it's also manifest in the stars. It's reflected in the planets, each of which have their own symbolism. So the practice of alchemy is working with light in order to transform ourselves and also restore balance. And so, your story, which is, coming through a period of trial and challenges in the alchemical concept, that would be the black, the negredo, and the challenges of living in modern society also, because that's also a dimension of this that I talk about in the book. But the second phase is the white, and the white is the coming of the light within the darkness and invoking the light. So the alchemical tradition is working with light in nature in order to transform ourselves and the world around us in order to restore balance and harmony. And we live in a world that's disrupted, and we ourselves are disrupted in some deep ways by being in the material world and by being who we are. But we can also regenerate. And so that's what alchemy is really about. And it ties in with your story to some extent. Of course, the story is not, you know, exactly the same as what I'm talking about in the book, but it still can be definitely related to it.
And at that same house at one point, and we were partying in my early 20s at that point, and probably on X or something. Me and a friend saw some little beings that were in cloaks with a black box in front of them. And at that time, I had been reading a Celtic Otherworld book. And it was one of those situations where you're like, do you see that? Yeah. Do you see it? Because you're affirming, do you see this crazy, whatever the hell it is in the woods watching us? And it was like three little cloaked beings like Jawas, but skinny. You couldn't see their faces, and a black box in front of their feet. And a cat jumped towards them and they vanished. And later I found that cat passed away. I think got hit by a car or something, but it was kind of a creepy situation. But what were you saying about the black period? What was that called again? That sounds interestingly weird.
Well, the beginning stage in alchemy is called the black, or the negredo, the dark stage. And that's the stage of fermentation. It's a stage of germination. It's a stage of working also with challenges. So that's why I was connecting it with what you were talking about. In terms of the story you just told, and seeing those beings, what was your feeling at the time that you saw that?
It was kind of like an awe and a surprise, and maybe there was like a little bit of a fear, but we didn't run away or anything. We watched them vanish right in front of us. For some reason, the cat got rid of them, and at that time we were experimenting with different stages of consciousness and stuff. But it was kind of just an exhilaration. I know during a lot of my experiences, I was scared to death and was afraid to leave my house at sometimes. But the light being one, that was a positive one. There was one where there were some reptilian beings around the lake one night that were very like holograms. That one scared the crap out of me. I thought it was the devil or fallen angels, but it was weird because they started, like, I guess telepathically saying I love you and dance and sing and write like Deepak Chopra from Weird Reptilian Beings. So that kind of turned to a more positive thing. But there have been times where I've been, definitely scared. But when I saw the black beans, there probably was a little bit of fear, like, what the hell is that? But a lot of it's exhilaration. And now you're at a point you're like, I want to see this stuff again. And you don't, or you might, maybe once in a while, but it's not like, I mean, you crave to see it again, and you don't always get to see it again.
Yeah. Does it have have you had an experience like that where you felt there was a transformative effect where it changed you in some way?
Definitely. And during that time in Georgia, it was around Hampton Motor Speedway, and there was a lot of UFOs with witnesses, and at one point even some government type vehicles came out to investigate, and a dude in a cockpit silent helicopter waved at me kind of mockingly, and it shot off like they were coming out to see what was going on with the UFOs, but they never came to me face to face or anything like that. But there was one experience, and there was some psychedelics at this particular time. I had said something like, "This is Eden," because I had heard like bugs and nature, and it felt like a rebirth type situation. I literally thought of the Garden of Eden, and it was early in the morning with the sun coming up, and I go, "This is Eden." And I was probably blasting the doors or something, but it was funny because a few months later, some construction crew built a neighborhood down the street called Eden Wild. So that was kind of like, did I do that? But yeah, so there was some heavenly experiences with it. But once you got to overcome the fear a lot of times. I think I've had some PTSD and stuff like that from some of the UFO stuff I've had. I've seen them directly over me. And I don't know if I've been taken or anything, but they've been over me with witnesses to where it seems like they're there for you. And I don't know if that's the case, but some people want me to be hypnotized. I'm hesitant because I'd want find someone you really trust to do that because it's kind of creepy. But there's definitely been some stuff that's fear induced from a lot of this stuff, and I don't really have it as much as I used to. I mean, sometimes when you go outside late at night, it might pop up when you're out there by yourself. You're like, oh, I'm going in. I feel creepy. There's something feels creepy out here, but yeah, there is definitely a range of emotions. But the Eden thing comes to mind when you ask that for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. Here we live out in the country, and so we go out and we'll look for the northern lights, especially. If they don't always show, they're not around a lot, but there's something a little mysterious about the northern lights, and there's a whole mythology about the northern lights. There are mythological kind of tales about what they mean, and there's something unearthly about them. But in going out, uh, we've never had any kind of experience like you're talking about in terms of UFOs or those kinds of light experiences. Do you think if you've had those experiences, that you have more of them, that you have like an inclination that it manifests more because you're doing it, because you've had that experience?
Yeah, I think we've had shows on like trauma and stuff, how that can bring on a lot of these events. And I had went through testicular cancer and actually lost one, so that's definitely traumatic for sure. And I think that somehow fits into it on some level. Like I think a trauma opens up the doors on some level, but it's definitely been.
It's like there's two. That's like there's two movies. I think the one is Michael with can't remember the actual name, but and then also the Stephen King novel, which was done as a movie and a TV show, where both lead characters have a brain injury, and it gives them tremendous powers, or almost like godlike abilities. Like Michael, he's like solving people's problems. He solves like involved very advanced calculus program or calculus problems in his head without paper, that kind of thing.
You talking about the one with the Loki guy in it, Tom Hiddleston? Did you see that one recently? That was a weird one.
No, the one is Michael. They call it's the guy's name. It's John Travolta, and he plays.
Oh yeah, you're talking about
like Michael, like Archangel Michael, but he has like a brain trauma that gives him these extraordinary. And then the Stephen King novel, I forget the name of it, but it was a movie with Christopher Walken, and it's a TV show with Rusty from
Dead Zone.
Dead Zone. That's the one. Yeah. So again, that character has a brain trauma, and then is given like the extrasensory perception.
Christopher Walken. Okay.
Yeah, it's Christopher Walken, and then the guy Anthony Michael Hall, who played Rusty in the first Vacation movie.
I'll tell you a good movie that's kind of what we're talking about. It's called Midnight Special, and it has Michael Shannon in it, and there's a little boy who can see into other realms, and it turns out there's like a whole interdimensional advanced society interwrapped around our world of like weird light beings that live in their world. It's pretty weird. It's called Midnight Special. That's a good one. But I'm kind of curious, Arthur, what started you on this whole journey? What was kind of the catalyst of all your spiritual journeys of all this? What started it?
Well, what started this series of books, and there's actually several. I'm working on another one as well. What started it was years ago, I was invited out to Minneapolis to give a talk. And so I gave a talk out there, and I gave another talk at a bookstore. And at the end of the talk, this guy came up, and he had this box. And he said, we should really talk, because I had been talking about Christian mysticism, and I had published a couple of books in that area. And so we became friends over many years. And eventually we started to do books together. He's a practitioner of this particular form of alchemy that is in this book. And the book is really fundamentally dedicated to him. We did another book together several years ago called Conversations in Apocalyptic Times, which is really a book of conversations, and it's kind of a introduction to spirituality. We then did this book that I'm working on editing right now, which goes into a lot of practical detail in terms of alchemy and alchemical practice, which he and his wife have been working together doing for many, many years. And that's what he teaches, and that's what I use in this book, drawn in this book. And then we're doing a book together which goes much more deeply into the practices. And then there's more that I can say about that, but this particular book that just came out called Alchemical Lightwork also has some courses that are tied to it. So there's a course with a name, Alchemical Lightwork, which it has some practical dimensions, and that's on Hyros Institute, which is Hyros.institute, which is a website with some online resources for people, including some things that might interest you. We did a conversation with a couple of shamans, including a Russian shaman. So I've been working with him for many years now, actually decades. And that's really the origin of this book, is writing something for the general reader that's an introduction to something that most people would have never heard of otherwise. And providing an introduction in clear language, and then we'll go more deeply into it in a couple of books forthcoming, including one on alchemical relationships, actually.
Cool. We'll have to keep an eye out for that one for sure. And so what was your extent of light work? As far as I know, you used the term in the book, but I think there's a lot of truth to a lot of that stuff, but I try to be careful because I know sometimes people can get a little too kooky with the light worker stuff, like exopolitics. I don't want to get into all that, but sometimes they get a little too crazy with the alien stuff and all that. But what's your term of light worker? You seem more grounded with that kind of stuff. I don't see you getting too kooky. You seem like you're really kind of earthly and grounded. But what's your definition of light work, and how does that apply?
Well, I come from a farming family and live on a farm, so grounded, I suppose, makes sense, right? We garden and grow fruit and vegetables and so on, and my family's been doing that for a long time, century and a half. So, in terms of light work, it's a term that really helps relate the practices and the tradition of alchemy to contemporary society, because what the book is doing is applying alchemical understanding to the world that we're living in. And so I discuss in the book things like social media and the challenges that social media creates, principally anger, actually. Social media can be like an engine to create anger. And how do you overcome that? Well, nobody really teaches these kinds of things as part of the Western tradition. When I grew up and went to church as a boy, and went to church, there was one minister who mentioned mysticism and spirituality, and they almost fired him on the spot. So that that kind of idea of inner life is not very widespread in contemporary society. So on the one hand, we have engines that create anger, and on the other hand, we don't have means of deeper life very much. And so that's why I wanted to show that these things exist in the Western tradition, that there is a tradition of inner work in the West. Of course, there's also Buddhism and Buddhist tradition, and that does exist in the U.S. but and in Europe, in the Western world. But it's also there are also Western traditions, and so that's really part of what this book is about, is putting alchemical understanding in contemporary terms, and light work and working with light is part of that, because it's intrinsic to the whole nature of alchemy. Alchemy is really, if you look closely at it, it is all about light and illumination, and mysticism also is about that. So that's really part of what I was about with this book, and why we brought it out as we did.
And if you had some interesting, like, spiritual experiences that you'd like to share, I mean, with some of that alchemical stuff, or what are some experiences that you've had?
Well, one experience I had, actually, I mentioned in the book, and that is, I had a dream, and in the dream, I was handed an alchemical book, and it was unlike any book I've ever seen, probably like anyone has ever seen, because it had this kind of band, this kind of a lock on it, or a closure, and then it had all these alchemical images on the cover. So, like, symbols. It was covered with symbols, and I was given it for safekeeping in order to pass it on to the future. And so I mentioned this dream to this friend of mine, and that I've been working with, and he said that dream makes perfect sense. And so that dream is part of what this book is about. It's a manifestation of that idea that you can carry something on into the future, and that you can contribute to its continuity. So that's one experience I had that I mentioned in the book. Other experiences, really fundamentally, this tradition is about working with light in order to uh, have a more stable, balanced, harmonious life. So uh, the kinds of, like, um, experiences that you're talking about, where there's external light, and I'm interested in those, actually. I think that's why I was asking about why, what your experience was when you saw this or that, or you had this or that kind of external experience. In this case, when you turn your attention inward and you're invoking light, you're also recognizing that there's stuff inside that you're illuminating, and maybe some of it is dark or difficult. And it's by illuminating it, it also allows it to dissipate and lose energy. So it's a different, so negative energy can be overcome. And so that's what this practice really is about. So it's kind of different than what you're talking about in terms of external experiences of illumination. But these could be related. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think there's a what kind of uh, how would you regard the kinds of experiences of light that you've had in terms of what I'm talking about? Do you feel like there's a sense that you, by going through trauma and coming out the other side, you feel more grounded and the world is more stable when you've had these kind of experiences, or not?
Yeah, I mean, that can be off and on. You can feel like that sometimes, and then some days, of course, you don't. But I definitely think they were transformative, and a lot of them I saw, and there was a lot of wonder and awe, but it was kind of mixed with an exhilaration and fear at the same time. And a lot of those experiences I call my Goldie Oldies. I mean, I have some now, but they don't seem as big as that. Like, I mean, a lot of times I'll still see UFOs outside, but never to where I'm like, is this Joker here for me? It's right over the house. But a lot of it's definitely like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. And I do a lot of times when I talk about those light beings, and that may have been deceased loved ones, or could have been angels. I don't know what it was, but I know we've had Itzhak Berry on before. I believe, oh, stop it.
That's Edgar, the
I
angry
mean,
puppy.
that's Harley the brat. But
But
anyway,
Harley,
a medicine man, it's Zach Berry. He's from Inner Traditions. He said that the dead can travel in spears of light. So that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting. And I've had medicine men and shaman kind of tie in. That's what we are as beings of light. Don Oscar, he's goes to Peru and like they do. I don't know if they do ayahuasca. I'm sure they have. But anyway, they say they have weird festivals and watch these beings of light in the sky fly around, and he has videos of it and stuff. So there's something to that. And of course, nothing's absolute, but I kind of think that has something to do with us, our souls, maybe are those beings of light. And maybe when we die, we become that's like our butterfly or something. Like I know beings of lights in Christianity and a bunch of different stuff, even probably Buddhism and stuff. We've heard about the Buddhist monks that their bodies, they leave their bodies behind. The bodies keep like growing and stuff, and they've reached stages of light. So there's definitely something to the beings of light in us. I don't know if we all turn into beings of light because, I mean, if you look at ghosts, all this weird ghost paranormal stuff, a lot of that's really creepy. They seem more shadowy and like darkness or something, but there's something to our soul growth in the light, beings of light. And I think it's one and the same, or we are them, or there's definitely something like that. And then, of course, I always bring up Ron Howard's Cocoon 1 and 2, Opie. You know, have you ever seen those with Steve Gutenberg?
yeah, the
Yeah.
aliens peel off the human skin and they're glowing like they're like a Siloon stick.
The beings of, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. So there's something to it. I don't know what, but there's something to it.
Well, there are Christian traditions about this as well, and the idea that what we do in this life carries on after death. So
Access in the
if
next, yeah.
if you are cultivating negative energy, and that's why I mentioned social media, because it can be like a amplifier of negative energy, and so that can get really difficult. It can get really ultimately dangerous if that's what we're bathing in. And when we die, these are the things that we carry with us. And so on the other hand, if we are connected to light and we invoke light, then after death, then we carry that on. And in this tradition, which goes back to antiquity, but especially to a great mystic whose name was Jacob Boehme. And Boehme lived in Germany in about 1600. And he's the one whose work we draw on quite a bit. He's the center of the school. And in his work, one of his works, it's called Dialogues on Supersensual Life. And in this work, a disciple or a student asks the teacher, "Where do you go after death?" And the teacher says, "You don't go anywhere. You are right here. It's not that you go somewhere, it's that you manifest more clearly who you actually are." And so that's why it's so important during this life to generate good energy and kindness and love, because that's what we carry with us after death. And so that ties in with your story to some extent of beings of light after death, because of course there are stories in uh, Eastern Orthodox Greek monasteries. I know a Greek author who has been quite a number of times to Mount Athos, and he's published about it. And he tells a story of a monk in Mount Athos in a monastery who he's very reclusive, and everybody is a little bit in awe of him. And at night, he will pray and invoke light, and he actually manifests light. So some of the monks in that area have gone there and found light manifesting in his cell, out of his cell, coming out of his cell at night, and there's no physical light. It's manifestation of just his uh, inner light. And so stories like that
his
definitely
chakra.
exist.
His chakra is shining.
Yeah, he's shining from the inside out. His heart is shining from the inside out, and that's how they all interpreted it. This is in a book by Kyriakos Markides, who's a really terrific author. Writes about some of these his experiences in Mount Athos and in the monastery, and that's a story about light, of which there are a lot of parallels. So the idea is that light continues after death, and so it's what you're describing in terms of different phenomena has a lot of grounding in different religious traditions, including Tibetan and also Christian.
And I know when I've had some of these light being experiences, I've said it feels like something's laying its hand on me and showing me. And then later you'll go outside and look and it'll be dull, like whatever was showing you is not anymore. But it kind of feels like something, I say God or whatever, puts his hand on you and shows you. It's seeing. I guess that's what they call it in shamanism. And there's still times where I could go outside and look up in the heavens, and I swear I see, there are stars out there, but it seems like there may be these light beings, and they're very close. Like you can barely see these little balls of light, and they're all around each other, like dancing around each other. Like, I don't know. I've seen in a lot of afterlife stuff that there's some kind of transition period or like a bus shuttle up there, I think. And I think I get glimpses into it, not all the time, but sometimes. And I said it looks like a weird Sims game or something. But I know there's a book, The Afterlife of Billy Fingers, by a lady named Annie Kagan. That's an afterlife book. Her brother was I think a heroin addict, and I don't know if he died from an OD or got hit by a car or something, but he appeared to her as a being of light and described some similar thing about like a staging area above the earth. So there's something like that. I don't try to absolute it or anything, because I always just say I don't know, because you always have questions, but it seems like
it's an unusual occurrence, but it's not as rare as you think. There's lots of stories of widows at their husband's funerals that they say they saw the shape of their husband leaving the casket in a cascade of light. There's all the afterlife, after death stories of people who were like in the hospital on the brink, and they get brought back. They all say about the same thing. They were headed towards a tunnel so bright you couldn't look at it, but then it was so intense and interesting you couldn't look away either. So there has to be something to it. If so many people who have no physical communication ties at all whatsoever are saying the same things about these exact same occurrences.
Yeah, it's interesting. And there was a mystic, a British mystic, who was also a physician by the name of John Portage. And Portage, he had an ability to go into a meditative or trance state. And he would, this was in the late 1600s, he would go into that state for up to 2 weeks at a time. And his books, he wrote several books about his experiences, and what he saw was, among other things, what the afterlife was like, what people's experiences were after death, and their experiences varied, but he was able to see that in vision, and it was similar to the ancient Christian idea of angels as heads with wings. So there's a sphere of light, and there's a face, and there's wings, and the wings are the wings of signifying, movement without the body, and so it's very similar, actually, in some ways, to what you're talking about. His books are just amazing. Most of it hasn't been translated because even though he was British, a lot of the manuscripts were lost, and only the German versions still exist because it was translated into German. So some of it has been translated back into English, and there's a couple of book versions. One is one that I've edited, which is short, very short, and then there's called The Wisdom of John Portage, and then the other one is called Sophia, and that gives a lot more. That's much longer, and that goes much more into detail. So there is some parallel in terms of this tradition and what you're talking about, after death experience.
There was one thing I saw, and me and Jay have showed this video. I think it was a show on Netflix about paranormal. It's called Encounters, and they did a whole segment on Fukushima, and basically above that tragedy, these little light things happened, and they got it on video. You can find the video, and it's crazy good, like crazy video of these lights in the sky above it when it was happening. And my first thought was that's the people that died maybe getting ejected from their bodies. And then actually a Japanese dude, like I don't know, he's kind of like a medicine man. He said that the same thing. And basically that there's something in the, I guess it was Japanese, their culture or whatever, that when you die, you go onto like this chariot of light or something weird about light that carries you away. And basically when I'm getting goosebumps a lot tonight, when you see it, it's just they're flying around. And I don't know for sure, but some other dude was like, it's a UFO coming to help us and lower the radiation. I don't know if that was true. My thought was it was deceased ones that passed and got ejected, but I don't know. But that was some weird footage that's really good. That'll freak you out for sure. There's something to it. And it's on Netflix and Encounters.
Well, two things that actually occurred during Fukushima was there was a 50% increase in witnesses saying what they call, what you just described, orbs, and there was a 100% increase in UFO activity. There were several silver discs spotted directly over the area within seconds of the disaster to keep occurring. So, are both of those tied in? I don't know, but I agree with Jeff. On the video we saw, it's like, is it the soul leaving the body? I mean, it's intriguing evidence.
And I hear echo for some reason with Jay.
Yeah, I do too.
But who knows? It may be just StreamYard. But definitely the Cocoon movie, that is a very strange movie. I'd have loved to ask him if he was tripping when he wrote that, if he did shrooms or something, but maybe not. But definitely,
I would not be surprised. I mean, come on, he grew up in the '60s, you know.
Yeah, and those were some. I just saw him recently on that show, The Studio, with Seth Rogen, that won a lot of awards. He played Ron Howard, actually was in it as Ron Howard, but that was pretty funny. But yeah, Cocoon. I mean, basically, you have these light beings that are disguised as humans, and somehow the cocoon in the pool gives all the elderly people, regenerates them, and heals them. So there's something
takes years off their lives, actually, in fact.
in a Cocoon 3. It's weird. Those Cocoon movies are hard to find. I had to pay expensive for them on eBay. Like they're not
I've
easy.
got them.
They're not on streaming. They're hard to get. Like I
got them on DVD, dude. I've had them on DVD for years.
Look up the price of them. You'll pay about $60 for them. But
I already got
them. You can torrent them. But anyway, so the apocalypse, that's one thing. You talk about social media and darkness. I agree with that. And not to get into political stuff. Jay likes Trumpledooch. I don't like him. But anyway, there's definitely, to me right now with that situation, to me, he's like something out of Lord of the Rings, like Sauron, and there's a blight across the land of darkness. That's what it feels like to me right now. And I'm looking for a Gandalf, and hopefully it's not me. If it's me, we're screwed. But there seems to be a darkness across the land to me, no matter if you like him or not. It seems really dark right now in this world. And social media, God.
Yeah, well, I think that really the darkness comes from the more than anything from the kind of rage or wrath, or because in the tradition of Burma, the idea is that the world has gone through a kind of shift, a kind of break, which in Christianity is called the fall. And so in the fall, the wrath is a principle. Wrath is the principle of division and anger. And that principle exists in this world in an imbalanced way, and it's separated from light, and it's separated from love. And so wrath and love are in opposition in this world. And they're out of balance. And so whatever increases that imbalance is ultimately destructive. And ultimately, what you need is a harmony, a harmonizing of the two, because it's not that wrath is bad in itself, inherently bad. It becomes bad when it gets separated as a principle and becomes destructive. Then it's destructive. And so when you have people deliberately ginning up anger and deliberately ginning up violence, then that itself is destructive, and it creates destruction. And ultimately, it can be destructive in cosmic ways, in a kind of cosmic sense. And so that's why I think in this time, it is possible to generate a different way of being. And part of what the book is about, and in the end, you see this. I give some examples. I give some examples of different communities that have emerged that are exist in a completely different way, that are similar in some ways. I make the comparison to the Amish, because out here in the country, you have Amish communities, and there's also Mennonite communities not far from here. And they're part of society. They exist. They're right here. They have shops. They go shopping. They're right around, but they're also separate. So it is possible to exist in this world in a different way. And I give some examples of that at the end of the book, and examples of how communities have done it in the past, and then also an example of a community in the future. And so the book is a little bit looking toward the future as well, and looking toward a more balanced way of being in the world.
It definitely needs it. That's for sure. It's just so crazy right now.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I definitely agree with the example of the Amish Mennonite. I'm in Pennsylvania, and I'm right in the middle of Amish Mennonite country. Around the corner from me, I suppose he's Mennonite. His name is Paul. He has a little farmer's market, and they have really great stuff there. And you're seeing more of the Mennonite come into, breaching the gap between what they call English society and their society. We're the English, they call us. Not so much with I'm not really close to the Amish as much, but they tend to not use as much technology. The Mennonites they drive cars, they use electricity. Some of them are allowed to drink coffee and sodas. You compare that with the Amish, they're even more different than the Mennonite. They can't drink coffee, they can't drink sodas, they can't wear Western clothes. Both societies though have what they call a Roomspringer, where the 18-year-olds, men, the boys and girls, 18-year-olds are allowed to leave the community for I think a week during their birthday, and they can go and try the English society. And then at the end of that week, they have to decide: you stay with us or you leave and never come back. That's their choice. They're given one choice: stay with us or you're gone. It's a strange society.
It is. At the same time, I really respect the way that the Amish and the Mennonites, to some extent, but especially the Amish, are able to maintain their own continuity, and it's a healthy community in a lot of ways. They help each other. They have, if there's health issues, everybody chips in, or they do a local fundraiser. We've been to a few of those. They exist in society. They're here. But they also are separate from it. And I'm giving them not as an example of, we should all be Amish. That's not my point, but rather that different ways of being in the world, in community, can exist. All it requires is us to make that choice and stick with it. That's really my point.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that point. I mean, they choose a harder way of life than most of us. Right down the street from me, like less than a mile or so, is a young man who's got he's a very small family. It's his wife and two boys, and I think the boys are 10 and 8. 12 and 11, something like that. And then they have a couple adult friends or workers, but they have this huge farm, 3 large fields of crops that they take in every year. And I just drive by and I just amaze myself. This man gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and starts tending his farm, and it's a working farm with like literally 3 adult humans and 2 children.
Yeah, it's amazing, really. I grew up with that too, because I grew up on a family farm, and we did all the farm work ourselves. And so it's similar to what you describe, except we also have, tractors and machinery.
Yeah, he
And
uses machinery as well. He does. He's one of the Mennonites, so he's lucky in that respect. But it's
oh,
still
I
it's a
see.
tough
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think different kinds of society, different kinds of community are completely possible, especially in America, where, at least hypothetically, we have uh, the principle of individual independence and freedom. And so that includes the freedom to, you know, live in a different kind of community. And I think ultimately that's going to be a really important thing to bear in mind. And so, because the kind of society that we live in right now is very fragile, the supply chains are fragile. You go into the supermarket right now, and there's going to be shelves that don't have certain products that you're expecting. And that's in a normal day when things are totally fine. But the supply chain is very fragile. And so I think ultimately we're going to have a different, more balanced way of being in the world. And that's really what this book is also about. It's about how we do that on an individual basis, and how we do that in couples, and how we do that in community. And so those are the 3 areas that the book really focuses on. Uh, and it's interesting because, you've been talking about different experiences of UFOs and different beings that you've experienced. There's a professor that I know. We invited her out here. Her name is Pasulka, Diana Pasulka. You know her?
You're muted, Jeff.
Sorry, the dog. American Cosmos. Did she write
Yeah,
that?
that's her.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another book I want to check out that looks really good than the other book she wrote.
Yeah. Well, American Cosmic, that book came out, and we invited her out and she gave a talk. And then I had coffee with her, and we sat and we talked about, different experiences and different things that she had observed. And, she uh, had come to know this guy who uh, was able to draw on technology that did not belong really to this world. And he had become fairly well. She discusses him in the book. I mean, it's an Oxford University book. It's an academic book, but really it's about uh, how in part, it's about how he communicates with non-physical knowledge, to gain and to draw from this knowledge that is from essentially outside ordinary channels of knowledge. And it comes to him when he is quiet. He has a kind of ritual that he does, these different practices, and then he's able to draw on this knowledge. And so she discusses that, and she just telling me some things privately about it as well. And other people that she knew, sometimes very, very well-known people, uh, who had experiences in some cases like what you're talking about, but then also like this friend of hers, have these experiences of non-localized knowledge that just kind of manifests. And so I wondered if that was ever part of your set of experiences, this kind of drawing on knowledge or delivery of knowledge that you just wouldn't normally expect to have access to.
I've
Yeah,
definitely experienced that. Yes.
I know there was times when I was going through a lot of that stuff that I was reading a lot of the Celestine prophecy. And a lot of friends said that I was like a teacher to them, and I would say spiritual stuff that I don't remember what I said, but it was definitely I was kind of put under the role of a spiritual teacher for them on a lot of levels. And a lot of us grew up later and quit doing the kind of drugs that we were doing, and now we're just doing pot. And for us, that's doing really damn good compared to the stupid stuff we used to do. Well, I never did drugs until my dad died. My dad told me if you did drugs, I would kill you. And I believed he would kill me. One time he thought my brother was doing drugs and was going to kill him with a gun. And I don't even think my brother was doing drugs, but I was always terrified of drugs. But when he died, I was like little Scarface. Like next thing you know, coke, meth, selling it.
Say hello to my little friend.
But now I got it down just to weed, so I'm doing pretty damn good. But yeah, I mean, there was times where you definitely. I would write a lot. I have books, a lot of them are transcripts from the show on Bigfoot and cryptids and stuff, but I would do a lot of poetry. I have a lot of poetry that I would do. And it would feel like you were channeling, or I guess connected to the source is a good way to say it. We've had Neil Donald Walsh Conversations with God on twice, and I was surprised he even came on my show. I didn't think he would, but he did. He came on twice. So I like those kind of things too. There was even one time when I was doing LSD and reading Revelations from the Bible and saw the sun turn into an angel and fall from the sky. And that was like a lot of kids back then would like, oh, I saw the curtain move. I was like, I see a Native American in full dress attire while I'm on shrooms, and I ran out of the house terrified. And so I would bring on, spiritual stuff, I guess, more than most people. And I think a part of that was the suffering that I went through. I mean, I guess. And maybe God, I've always been fearful of death. So I think God showed me. I'm still fearful of death, but I think he showed me, and it helps. At least seeing that helps a lot. And I think that's why I tell the Being of Light story so much, because I hope it helps people with that, because I do think that's connected to the afterlife, and we are those things on some level. But yeah, and that's why I try to tell that one a lot, because I think it helps people. And for some reason, every time I talk about it, I get goosebumps. And I don't get goosebumps every show. But yeah, and sometimes with the reptilian beings I saw, I'll get goosebumps. It's like if you talk about them, they probably know you're talking about them and somehow. But one of the weird things with those reptilian beings that I saw, there was some encounter paranormal stories of people seeing a being that had like antennas on its head in different parts of the South, different people. And it reminded me of the being that I saw. And the being that I saw was like a humanoid, and it had long hair, almost like Medusa, but they weren't snakes, but it was almost like, I don't know if it was dreadlocks or what it was, maybe something ceremonial. And they were definitely very reptilian. And next to him was a Hydra. And I don't know if that was his friend, like his dog, or just one of them, but it was like, and I've come across ancient civilization pictures. Like there's some of like these statues that I've seen on Facebook from ancient civilizations, and it looked like a Hydra, and each civilization had some weird thing that was very Hydra-like. And another thing that reminded me of them was some Mayan oracle cards that were from a deck I have, and they have the gods, and I swear it reminds me of what they look like. And when I had that experience, my first thought was, oh my God, it's the devil, fallen angels, false. And you're already on psychedelics, so that amplifies everything. I was terrified, but then I calmed down, and they were like, I love you, and sing and dance. I was still scared, but it was like they were sending positive messages to me, which was like, and they look like monsters. So that was kind of weird. But yeah, I do feel like that imparts some kind of knowledge to you. And now lately, I feel like I'm kind of going through a dark side. Like there's some days I feel like Darth Vader or something. Like, oh, they're trying to turn me into Darth Vader. And I'm a Capricorn, so we have some dark side stuff. I know, like the serpentine tail and Saturn and tarot, they just say we're Satan, which I'm not saying I agree with that, but they tend to say that Capricorn is the devil, which that doesn't seem fair. Like, gee, thanks. Because of my sign, I'm Satan. That's good to know. But But yeah, there's something to Capricorn in the dark side for sure that kind of messes with you. I think a little bit more than other signs, maybe, because there's some weird Capricorns like Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson, David Bowie. He wasn't really as dark, but definitely weird.
He
Anthony
was weird.
Hopkins. Yeah, he was weird. But there's definitely some weirdness with Capricorn that I have to deal with. One of the weirdest things about Capricorn I've ever found, and I actually told this to Nick Redfern, and I felt embarrassed for telling it. But there's an old story about Pan being caught masturbating by the gods, and they throw him in the Nile River and give him a serpentine fishtail as punishment, and that's what the Capricorn sign is. It's a goat dude with a fishtail. So I don't know if that story's true. How could I know? But that's a weird. Like if that's my whole science based on Pan getting caught self-pleasuring. So there's definitely some Capricorn stuff. But yeah, definitely it's been a journey. We've been doing the show for 18 years, and the main reason is because of me seeing weird stuff. That's what led me here. And we started out interviewing people like Stanton Friedman, like nuclear physicists, and people I never thought would talk to me. And there are a lot of them are passed away now. Jim Mars, he did the Alien.
Oh yeah.
I interviewed Jim and all these people. And
we had Nick Redfern was our Halloween guest for 6 years straight running until he got not feeling so well, and he's a little under the weather right now. We wish him well, but yeah, he was our number one guest for 6 years running for Halloween. He came on every year, Halloween night or nights just before it.
And Nick is dealing with some dementia stuff now, unfortunately, which is sad. So I hope that gets better somehow. I know I don't know all the details, but there's something to that. But what is the? I know I don't know if you want to get into it too much. We got about 20 minutes if we're going by an hour and 30. But you said something about an apocalypse book. I'm just kind of curious of some of your thoughts on apocalypse.
Well, apocalypse really means revelation. And it means revealing that which is hidden. And the book Conversations in Apocalyptic Times is, it seemed like the appropriate title for our book of conversations because of the times we're living in, but also, but having a double meaning. Because usually when people think of apocalyptic, they're thinking bad. It's bad. It's like the end time, everything is destroyed. Whereas there's another meaning to it. And that meaning is the laying bare, the unveiling of what is hidden. And in some sense, what's happening now in our society is that unveiling. Because we have access to things. What's in this book has never been, there are illustrations in this book that have never been published before. And we have some more illustrations. We have other illustrations for one in particular for this forthcoming book that also has never been brought out before. This discussion of alchemy as a spiritual map, as a map for spiritual understanding, has not been revealed. It's not been put in print in this way before. So in a sense, and it's not only us, it's in what we're doing, although that's the focus of what we're talking about, but in other ways as well. There are so many hidden things that are becoming revealed now in our society, and they're made available. And that's part of what's meant by apocalyptic times. So the book is called Conversations in Apocalyptic Times, which is really what it is. It's conversations. Apocalyptic, the Alchemical Lightwork book is different. I did that one on my own, but it's still based on the two of us working together. I also did another book, which is released this fall, called Breaking Through the Materialistic Deception. And that book is, when I started writing it, people would say, oh, materialism, there's 1,000 books on materialism. There's so many. And then I figured out what you need to say in response to that. And what you can say is name one. Because then they say, oh, wait.
Oh, yeah.
And then they think about it. And then they might say Rupert Sheldrake wrote a book on science, right? And a science delusion. And then I say, well, yeah, that's true. He did. But you know what? It's not actually on materialism, is it? No. So what I realize is that that's the secret blindness of our era. Um, so deep in everything is this materialistic worldview. It's totally surrounding us. It's embedded in everything we see, in the media, in all kinds of things. In academia, the biggest heresy, Jeff Kripal is right. The biggest heresy is to call in question materialism in the modern academic world. That's just the truth. And so in this book, I go through the negative consequences of believing only the material world is real in this kind of fixed way. I show its destructive consequences individually, in terms of education, in terms of economics and politics. So it's very destructive. And so that book, Breaking Through the Materialistic Deception, just came out. And that's a fun book. And it covers some territory similar to Alchemical Lightwork. Really, the way the books probably should be read is first the one on breaking through the materialistic deception, because that's breaking through, right? The Alchemical Lightwork is, what do you do then? What do you do next? Once you've broken through, at least come to see that materialism as believing that only that which we see and can touch with our fingers is true, then what's next? And so Alchemical Lightwork is about that. And so those two go together. And then Hyros Institute, which is a website, has this course on Alchemical Lightwork. And it also has some videos and other things, resources for people to help deepen your inner life. And so those are some things that I would say about these different books. And I'm glad I remembered to mention Breaking Through the Materialistic Deception, because I think that book, despite what some of these people told me, seems to be pretty much alone in what it does. And I have not seen anything that really competes with it. So you should check it out. That was a fun book to write, actually.
Definitely look it up, and we definitely want to get you back on too. You're a great guest. We appreciate it, and definitely been enjoying it. And we still got about 15 minutes, but what's your link and your website? What's your website?
Yeah, the website is HIEROS, Hyros, which means sacred, and .institute. That's where some of the resources are. So yeah, that's definitely worth checking out. But it's been an interesting conversation, and I think there are a number of different ways we could go. With the last section of this, what would be your preference in terms of what to look at in the time we got remaining?
I know
I
you
actually
said,
had a question for you.
go ahead.
So we've been talking about light work and light transmuting. The alchemical idea was to transmute things through light, and we're actually working on now. Star Trek had a technology called the transporter, where you step into a machine and a beam of light turns you into digital information, and that beam of light is transferred to a particle beam, and then at the destination point, each individual was reassembled at the destination point and traveling through light. And we're actually doing that now. We've actually taken like a light photon and transported it from one device to another device within the same room. And I think they've gotten it up to like 15 miles now. And for however they're able to do this, they're able to determine that it's the exact same light photon that they're moving from one area to the other. And they're moving it through light and digital information. Is this alchemy? I mean, is this part of what we're talking about?
Well, it's part of the technological revolution that we exist in that makes possible the amazing fact that we can talk, at a distance using this technology. It's just amazing, actually.
Mhm.
And the kind of let's say we could call it transporter technology, or there's some quantum mechanics experiments that are somewhat similar to that, where you have quantum effects at a distance, for example. Is that alchemy in the way we're talking about? Well, what I'm talking about in this book is a very specific kind of spiritual process that most people would never have heard of if we didn't publish about it. But there are other kinds of alchemy. So I did an interview with a guy who, a friend of mine and I, he had met in his travels an alchemist, a practicing alchemist, and I've done some work with herbs as well. He showed a vial of medicine that he had created using herbs and created a tincture, and he held up a bottle of it. And I have a bottle of tincture that I've made as well, for example. So part of alchemy, there's one kind of alchemy which is transforming using herbs for healing. It's using plants for healing. There's another kind of alchemy which is working with metals and transforming metals. And metallurgic alchemy exists also in India, by the way, where they also can work with, for example, purifying mercury. So mercury is a poison normally, but you can work with these metals and make them harmless and even healthy. So sometimes in India, you'll get these medicines and they'll have an edible metal on top of them. And the edible metal will be this like very thin layer of some kind of a purified metal, which is part of the medicine, actually. That actually exists. Then there's another kind of alchemy, which is working with the creation of what's called the Philosopher's Stone. And so there's different kinds of alchemical practice. And I've known people who have worked with herbs. There's a number of different individuals and groups with metals. And then also there's this practice of inner alchemy, which is directly related to the others, but it's not the same because it's inner alchemy, and that's what this book is really about. But can I say that that working with different substances to transform them is not alchemy? I can't say it's not, but it's definitely not the kind of alchemy that this particular tradition is focused on. I would say overall technology tends to create for example, it creates what you could call facsimile images of things. So, for example, Meta and Zuckerberg want to create this, one of his big projects is virtual reality. Well, virtual reality is an image of what exists, but it's not real in itself. And so is that transformation alchemical? I don't think so. So it all depends what you're looking at. I would not say that all technology is alchemical. No. But
Yeah,
is
I
alchemical
tend to agree with
technology
that, I think.
possible? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually would agree with that, because I mean it seemed like a stretch, but all the talk of light. It's like, well, what about does that fit? So I mean, it seems that maybe the transporter type of technology is perhaps inspired by alchemical devices and practices, but not necessarily an alchemical process. But then you have the book translates, or not translated, but split into four different parts: black, the white, which we talked about, and then yellow and the red. So maybe you can explain that a little bit, because I think we can all figure out the black and the white part. What's the yellow and the red have?
Yeah, that's right. There are four different sections which deal with the different stages. And the final stage, which is also the way the book moves to the final stage of the larger transformation, and that's the rubedo, the Latin word for red, and that's the stage of flourishing or flowering. And so the stages are stages of transformation in the alchemical uh, work. The black dark phase, where we start, is a phase, a fallen phase, a phase of darkness, and then we invoke the light, and then by invoking the light, a golden color emerges, and that's the golden, which is the third stage called citrinitas. It's a yellowing stage, and that's also the stage of the breaking forth of the sun, and the red is the final stage, and I tie that in the book to community and flourishing, because the goal of alchemy in this tradition is the larger restoration of unity, not only for us as individuals, or us as self, but also for others and for nature. Because in our society as it is now, nature is considered a collection of resources. It's objects to be exploited, and that's how we think of it. It's in our language. It's in, you have acres, and you have price, and you have objects, and you can sand mine it or lithium mine it, but we don't think of it, nature, as having spiritual dimensions. And we also don't think of community as having that. And so these are things that manifest in this final stage, which is a stage of flowering or flourishing. Because really, alchemy is about, how do you flourish? How do you flourish or grow and flower as an individual? How do we flower as a couple? How do we flower as a community or as a group? How do friendships flower? How does that manifest in wholeness and harmony? And that's really what the book is aiming to encourage, both on an individual and on a shared level. And so really it's about also about decentralized um, communities, because I think one of the problems of the modern age is centralization and too much power in the centralized authority. So
I agree.
decentralization is how things flower.
Well, I think it's also just. I think we have. There's so many people on the planet. There's more of more an individual self feeling, and people are selfish in that respect. I absolutely agree. People, we don't think of the planet as a living or spiritual being. Since a little kid, I've always thought of the planet as having to. Maybe it's not a sentient being, but it is 100% alive. If we weren't here, and the bacteria and other insects and other all the mammal well, most of the animal life weren't here, the trees would survive on their own, and it would absolutely be a living world. You can't deny that the fact that there's life on the planet. Does that make the planet a lifeless hulk that just happens to have things growing on it, like a rock with moss? I don't think so. I think it actually creates a almost like a supernatural type of being. I mean, back in the Greek and Roman times, their gods, Jupiter and Zeus and all them, the planets are named after those. It's what they thought they were. Is it the wandering planets were their gods? So nature is it's more than what we give it, and ignoring it and trying to fix it. I mean, there's these people that want to stop global warming. It's not global warming or climate change, whatever you want to call it. It is a natural process of the planet. And what was that old commercial with? I think it was Palmolive. Don't mess with Mother Nature. It's going to explode if you do the wrong thing.
Yeah, well, the idea that there are different dimensions to life around us than just the purely physical, I think is very ancient. And I think that's an important important thing to point out and to remind people of. And that's also part of the vision that is behind this book. And I'll mention something that kind of connects some of the things we've been talking about, and that is, there's a book by Chris Bache, Bache. He did a book called Dark Night, Early Dawn. And Dark Night, Early Dawn is about his experiences. He took high doses of LSD, and he's a professor of religion for many years. He took these high doses, and this book is his record of that. And in the book, he talks about the future and the planet and people going through this really trying time and coming out the other side healthier and more balanced. And so it's a very apocalyptic vision in the sense we've been talking about. So I thought I'd mention it because it kind of ties to some of the themes in our conversation. And he's a real interesting guy.
I
Yeah.
say
I agree. Yeah.
on Amazon.
A lot of people in the paranormal community in the last several years have been saying about the same thing, that we're coming upon, if not already within, a time of severe trial, which then depending on who you talk to or who you ask, it's this period lasts 10 to 15, 20 years. But at the other end of that, it's like Star Trek. Nobody wants for nothing. Everybody has what they need. We no longer have to worry about cultural differences, imaginary geophysical lines that separate this country from that, which sounds really fantastic. And the timeline they're saying is sometime within the next 4 or 5 years. So we are in
That's
definitely
interesting.
times. Yeah.
So you guys have heard this kind of thinking in terms of transformation, like large social transformation in the next like 5-10 years.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, we have.
Yeah. Just seems hard to believe now with the way things are. Things are so crazy, but
yeah, it does. I mean, and like Jeffrey said at the beginning of the show, these are scary times. But at the other end of it, if you make it through, not so scary.
Yeah, that's definitely crazy. And there's some book about the sun that's really good, a spiritual book, Christopher something. But I noticed you got the sun as a face, and the sun is a very fascinating thing. I know, like in that Watchtower book, like Jehovah's Witnesses hand out and bother you with at your house, that they have like the sun as a throne and a dude sitting in it. And I know, of course, there's a science way to look at the sun, but the sun definitely is more than meets the eye, it seems.
Well, that's also how Apollo was depicted in ancient things as well. He's usually seated on a throne within the sun disk, or piloting a 4-horse chariot with the sun disk as like the backdrop directly behind his chariot.
Yeah. So is the sun a dude?
Apparently it's Apollo. Yeah.
It's something.
Yeah. Well, that comes
stories,
from
dude.
an
I
alchemical manuscript called Splendor Solace, which is Splendor of the Sun, that image on the cover. And so
Cool.
the sun is central to the spiritual sun is central to this alchemical tradition.
It's definitely like it's connected. I think it's like the source or a manifestation of the source, and then our light beings are connected to it. Maybe it was like it's the Big Bang, or maybe it is God. I don't know. So it's a weird thing. Then, of course, you throw in all the UFOs that visit it. You can look on YouTube if they're true or not. I don't know if those are true, but I always show these UFOs doing stuff to it. Then, of course, don't get me started on the comet thing. They've gone Heaven's Gate with the Atlas thing. It's like, my God, don't start drinking poison. Don't drink the Kool-Aid yet. But that's a weird comet. But there's a lot of controversy that may be a little too overheated with it. But definitely... definitely fascinating, and we appreciate it so much, Arthur. And everybody check out Alchemical Lightwork, a guide to creating cultures of light. And what's the other book called again?
Breaking Through the Materialistic Deception. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great having you on, and we'd love to get you on again. So keep us in the loop, and I'll keep an eye out, and we'll get you on again too. It's been great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you guys. I really enjoyed the conversation. It's excellent and interesting to hear about the kind of consensus in the paranormal community. That's really interesting. So,
and that's
it's good to know you're not alone.
That behind the curtain, that's not Satan. It's we actually tried to figure out what that shadow was last week. It's a Cthulhu bank from H.P. Lovecraft on a shelf. We know that Cthulhu thing from H.P. Lovecraft.
It looks like Gary Oldman from Dracula.
It's a piggy bank. Yeah, it's Gary Oldman from Dracula. He's hanging out. I saw that. But I actually saw Gary Oldman wrote a weird Western book, and it's not out yet, but it's called Blood Riders, and it's about vampires in the Wild West, and it's supposed to be coming out. But he wrote it a long time ago. I've been trying to figure out when that's coming out, but that's kind of a weird one that Gary Oldman and someone else wrote. But I like Weird West.
Yeah.
Mix it up.
Weird West, alternate West.
Have a werewolf in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks for a great show, Arthur. And I'll send you the archive, and just keep us in the loop if you need anything promoted or want to come on again, and I'll check back in with you. But thanks.
Yeah,
Sure. Hey,
thanks, man.
thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Have a good
Yeah,
week.
you too.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, everybody. You listen to Church of Mabus Radio, 107.7 FM, New Orleans. I'm tired. Just feel drained lately.
You're tired. I'm going to be on this network for another 5 hours, 4 hours now.
You're crazy.
4.5 hours.
I don't have. I barely have strength to do this.
Well, luckily I was off today. I got a 3-day weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So
I just don't really. Everybody considers me quiet usually, so I don't really. I mean, I talk sometimes. Sometimes people say I'm a blabbermouth and shut up, but a lot of times I'm quiet. I don't really talk that much. So, like, this is a lot for me, you know. And when I first started doing this show, everybody was like, well, we start doing the little chat room interviews with Stanton Friedman and stuff, and there was no talking, but everybody's like, you should do a radio show. I was like, I don't like to talk. I don't want to do a radio show.
And now we can't get you to shut up. No, I'm kidding.
And it's true on some level, but usually after this show, I'm like, I need to go to bed.
Yeah.
I'm like a grandpa. But I've been trying to do more things to have energy, but it's hard. Just everything's so weird.
One of the things that's been helping me is I take four vitamin D pills every morning it's a total of 500 milligrams. And I find that I don't get as tired later in the afternoon. Certainly though, if I don't eat, okay. But you gotta keep up your energy with, snacks in between and right meals, but it seems to work.
For sure. Yeah. I did a vitamin B shot not too long ago. That helped. But
I just got the shingles vaccination over here. It feels like Mike Tyson went, hey, bam! I got a Charlie horse out the yin yang over here.
Oh my gosh. What did you have? You had shingles?
No, but if you've had, I believe it's chicken pox. If you were a kid and you had chicken pox, and I did, I was a kid, I got chicken pox. You are a candidate later on in life for that same virus to turn into shingles, which is an actually very painful, bloody rash.
Yeah, well, I'm doing better. Someone gave a $500 donation, so that comes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, someone a long time ago heard me on a radio show about superheroes and aliens on I think it was Rita Lewis, and inspired them, and they've been helping out. So hopefully my donation asking is going to be coming to an end soon.
Oh, great.
It's already beating a dead horse, but did pretty good. Got about $3,000.
Nice.
So that was good during a hard period. So. But it had to go to bills and stuff too. I mean,
I mean, believe me, I just started a new job, so
it goes fast. Where did you get a job at? You're like what are you talking about? You're a CEO of where now? What happened?
No, that was just a joke.
Oh, okay.
I am working at a company called Ryder, RYDER, and it's a warehouse pick facility for Amazon products, and I drive an order picker for quite a nice chunk of change. We work 4 days a week, and I make 48 hours, so I'll be drawing in a little bit over 1,200 weekly until the end of the year.
Weekly, that's good.
Yeah. It's $24 an hour right now. 8 of those hours each week will be $36 an hour, and like I said, it's mandatory 48 hours a week. So it's that 8 hours of overtime is the same as one 12-hour day. So it's like being paid for one day, but twice.
What you gotta do? You gotta stand the whole time.
Oh yeah, it's a 12-hour shift. So I'm on a forklift. It's basically what you call an order picker or cherry picker, and I just go down these vertical stacks of racking and pick what the machine tells me. Pick up 1 box from this space or 2 boxes from this space and move to the next one and get 2 boxes. And then we put them on a cage and they go out and they're loaded onto trucks.
Crazy. 12-hour days? How many days you get off?
3. It's Sunday through Wednesday, 12 hours, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Well, that's good.
It's
That's
not bad.
good.
I mean, it's killer on the body, but once I get used to it, it won't be so bad. But
I
can't wait for that first. My first check was only $200 because it was only for the 1 day of orientation. So my first full week check will be this coming Friday.
I've been worried. I've been having health stuff. I just don't. Something just feels weird. So I guess I'll have to go to the doctor. See if I'm croaking. No, my vision's weird. Like my glasses are blurry now. I'll have glasses, and I used to, when you read things close up, it'd be crystal clear. Now it's blurry. And now
I need new glasses too. I need I got to go see the doctor about my lungs. I got to go see the doctor about my carpal tunnel on my wrist. So I've got quite a few things going on at once.
I have bad arthritis. Oh, my teeth. I haven't been to a dentist since I was a child.
Yeah.
So luckily they look okay, sort of, not really, but nothing. They're not as bad as they could be. One got chipped once when I sharded myself at a sink when I was sick with the flu and puked and sharded myself at the same time when I chipped my tooth.
Ouch.
I know, that sucks. That's called
I got two teeth missing, and once I start getting my insurance back in December, I need to get my teeth finished up. Huh?
You're puking out of both ends, and then you sneeze or something and chip your tooth on the bathroom sink.
That's unbelievable. Someone was trying to send you a message. I hope you got it.
I know. There's some weird person that keeps stopping by our archives on Follow Your Weird 777, where Church of Mabus archives are, which doing really well, by the way. We're getting about 50,000 to 100,000 hits per show. It's because
nice.
I'm putting the shows up under political videos. So basically, Trump people are clicking these shows. I put it under the video, so I guess they watch them both. I don't know, but you don't make that much money on Rumble if it's the second video. Like I just got a cash out on Rumble for $227. If it was the first video, it would have been about $500. So because I put it under a video, it's less. Now, if I could put it under a YouTube or a BitChute video, it's more. So I'm trying to do that more. But if you put it under a Rumble video embedded, it's less. So that kind of sucks. But at least I'm making something on there. But the hits are crazy. And what's so weird is we only have 20 followers on there, but we have 100,000 hits per show. But it's
because it's not only followers that are going to be, obviously the followers are going to be notified when the show is put on. They would there's like so many more people searching those subjects.
But the biggest thing is it's embedded, so it's on an article at Before It's News under a political video, like something stroking Trump, and then under it's like us doing this.
Oh, so, One thing we've also found out, Joe and I, on the chat to boost numbers, is every description we put the word insane and we get double the hits. Yeah. So like when we first started, we were getting 5 million. About 2.5, 3 million viewers. We started typing insane in the show description, and it doubled to 5 million. So it's a good idea.
Yeah, insane. That's what Joe used to call me, insane man.
Yep, insane in the membrane. That's all you got to do.
I'm wondering if I'm croaking. I don't think. I haven't got a medical prognosis, but something I worry I get diabetes. Like I'm worried about all kinds of stuff lately. Everything, the whole gamut. A tumor. Oh, I'm still waiting to hear about the meatball money. I just filled out the final paperwork on my settlement for losing a nut. This place is doing a class action lawsuit against these big companies that leak toxins into water in my zip code. And they've been putting me through the ringer, and I'm waiting for the final check. It's probably going to be $200. I don't know.
Yeah, you might be surprised. It could be $2,000. It could be $20,000. You never know.
I know. I don't know.
The thing is how many people applied and how many people, actually got approved for it.
And then in
the more people, the less it's going.
In the paperwork, it's like the lawyers are going to get 60-40, like the 2 lawyers that work at 60-40. So I called up and I was like the Joker, like, what is this 60-40 that I'm seeing here? What's Oh, you're getting something. Yeah, I better be. If it says 60-40 for them, then what am I getting? A fart in the wind? So just confused me, but they claim I'm getting something. I'm sure they got it worked out. But who knows? It could be usually from those kind of things. I've never done one this serious, but the other crap is like, here's $7 on a credit card. Here's the digital number. It's like, oh, $7. Oh, so who knows? I might get $5,000 or something.
It could be any number from $1 million to 25 cents.
I don't think it's going to be $1 million. It might be a quarter.
Hell, they might even just mail you a commemorative, rare 1 cent penny from the U.S. Mint.
A meatball coin.
There you go.
I lost nut. I want at least $10,000.
Well, I mean, if most of the jobs I've had in a few years doing warehousing, they have, because of the situation you're in a warehouse using lift equipment, you can have a limb severed. So almost every store, Lowe's, Home Depot, Tractor Supply, they put, dismemberment insurance on you. And I think the loss of a hand is like $2,500. The loss of an arm is $5,000. If you lose an arm or two arms or two legs or an arm and a leg, it's like, $12,000. So it goes up. The more body mass you lose, the more you get.
Hell yeah, you would think. Maybe I'm gonna get about 100,000.
Well, this is a different situation. This is a civil lawsuit against companies that were negligent in their regulations with these chemicals by letting them get out into the environment. So
this is what
because of that, it's depending on how much the lawsuit was for. If they won for $12 billion, you're going to get a big chunk of change. If it was like 10 million and 5 million people applied, you might get $100.
Yeah, we never know.
Yeah.
I know a man behind us named Lamaro, who I'm sure is dead now. He had testicular cancer. He lived right behind us.
Yeah.
So,
well, his family may be able to sue on his behalf that he's dead, and maybe get a bigger chunk because of the if they could.
What's weird
if they got an autopsy and the autopsy said he died of the testicular cancer, then yeah, he could 100% get compensated.
And then I've seen some other one of those lawyer things, different ones trying to get money for the site for different things like that. I don't know if I haven't done more than one because the one was enough to
apply for everyone that sounds like you qualify for. I mean, geez,
no,
the worst they're going to say to you is no.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah,
about 5 of them, 5 class action lawsuits. I know there's some crappy one I got from a data breach from Equifax. It's like $6. It's like you kidding me? There's an AMC one I got like $7. Come on, man. You have to give up some cash a little bit. Not $7. To put me through this trouble for $7. I'm hoping at least $1,000 maybe. You don't know until you get it.
Well, I mean, you could probably find out how much they sued for it. I don't know if you would find out how many people are, available to get that funds. So those are the numbers you need to know. How much the lawsuit was for, the grand total, and how many people actually applied for, and how many people are actually approved.
I know I had to fill out a crap load of paperwork. My God.
Yeah.
And then we fill it out again for the court, like another one. A lot of it I don't remember. I couldn't even find the doctors. One of them's dead. My chemo cost about $100,000, I was told, and there were shots that were $10,000 a piece, and they were made with ocean life and cadaver white cells, like from dead people and ocean life. And I had to take the shots. It was like some X-Men kind of thing, and it was weird because my dad's boss told him that you should let your son die. He's costing the company too much. Wow. And he said, and then my dad died with guns and knives in his car. He was on his way there to kill everyone in that office building. He had a heart attack before he got there.
Jeez.
He got in an argument with my wife who was divorcing. We were divorcing, and he had a heart attack and died. And they found all those guns and knives in his car, and he said he was going to go kill them for what they did and said. Which I'm not going to say. I don't think everybody in the building deserved to die, but that one dude maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a messed up thing to say, Let your son loose. He's costing the company too much money.
You don't whack that guy. I'm sure he's dead now. Dan Benson. If he ain't dead, he's in a diaper pooping somewhere. But I'm
Yeah,
sure
he's
yeah,
probably suffering something somewhere.
if they really said that, that's messed up. I don't know why my dad would make it up. I don't think he would. He wasn't someone that made up stuff. So, but
You wouldn't think a minister would do something like that.
yeah, no, he didn't make up stuff. But my dad was in a school called Rabin Gap in Georgia, and they used to inject rattlesnake venom in their arms to be immune. And I saw my dad get bit by a rattlesnake, and it didn't do anything to him.
Yeah.
Just some weird down home.
Well, but also what I know about snakes, the older a snake is, the more they have control over their venom sacs, and almost all of them, especially if the snake, the snake knows size, it knows you're bigger than it. It knows its poison won't harm you as much, so they tend to give you what they call a dry bite. Doesn't mean any venom doesn't come out, but it's usually not enough to really harm a person. There is enough bacteria in their bite to infect the wound almost instantly. So you still have to get to the hospital right away, whether you're going to die or not.
How much am I going to get for that meatball settlement?
I don't know, man. I wouldn't be surprised if you get at least 20 grand. I wouldn't be surprised.
I would be shocked if I got 20 grand. I'd be like winning the lotto for my broke ass. We'll see. I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, I mean, that doesn't sound like a lotto. I mean, it sounds like you're actually approved. So it depends on.
Oh, I'm in.
Yeah, it depends. Like I said, it depends on how many people are approved also to get funds from this settlement.
Yeah.
And depending on that, what they ask for, it's anywhere from a penny to up to millions.
Yep. Never know until you get it. I guess they send you the check. I don't know. Right? I guess
you'll get a warning first that there's a check on the way, or there's a electronic funds transfer to one of your bank accounts, something that you'll get a warning before it comes.
That's right. Sun Dragon representing.
Yep. Hey, Kevin.
Look at that little Mark Eddy. He's in there too.
Yeah, Mark's been here, man. I said hi to him when he came in.
I saw him. I saw little Mark Eddy. Eddie, get your dick out of the sink. You ever seen that?
No.
Delirious Eddie Murphy, his mom or something.
Oh yeah, when he put the cologne on himself.
Yeah, doing something naughty in the sink. She's like, get your leg out of the sink, Eddie. But anyway, man, about 5 minutes. You gonna watch that Wendigo documentary?
If I can get to it, yeah, absolutely.
You should be able to get to it. And then that you come back for the 5th, and then Wham's back for 2 shows, and then vacation. But watch that documentary, so we'll be ready for some Wendigo. It's about an Indian that ate his family.
Yeah, Wendigo is definitely a cool thing to think about.
I wouldn't think about it too much.
It's North American werewolf stories.
You might eat old Boney Maloney in there with you. But be careful. You don't want no soup.
Oh, yeah.
If you think about them too much, you'll start eating folks. So don't be thinking about too much. Have a great night, Sun Dragon. Happy Turkey Day. Turkeys taste like napkins.
Happy early Thanksgiving.
I try to do. That's why I put the Al Going Back Native American show up for Thanksgiving. Michelle's going to put it up. We're going to put the American Indian. That's who's on the show. Weren't you there? Or that was Wham, I think.
That was Wham,
yeah. But anyway, that was one of my favorites with Joe R. Lansdale. You were there for him. But
he's good.
I put up Al Going Back. Joe's been around, buddy. Joe's been around. He's got some cool books. Some I need. There's an essential horror book he just put out with just horror stories in it. He also put out a Lovecraft where he just writes H.P. Lovecraft type stories. It's on Amazon called Joe R. Lansdale, H.P. Lovecraft or something. I need that one big time. Oh, sure. Trying to read more. But my comics, them been cut because of money, but I'm still at least getting my G.I. Joes and Transformers. They got Kirkman writing those now. The guy that does Walking Dead, but right now it's the Dreadnought War. The Dreadnoughts. A war is going on. A war. But what else is going on TV wise?
There's the new Alien Earth, which the first few episodes I was underwhelmed. It wasn't that. It seemed so formulaic. It didn't vibe with me. And I like the rest of the Predator Alien series. They're,
I want to see Badlands.
yeah, that's a movie though, not a television show, right?
Yeah, but it's supposed to cross. There's a cyborg from Alien in it. So
Yeah.
that girl, Ellie Fannin, or whatever, she's like she's like one of those Prometheus androids. She's in it. It's supposed to be good. From the guy that did Prey. You know, you saw Prey, right? The Native American.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fights the Native American chick.
Yeah, I saw it.
I haven't seen Badlands yet, but what's that new one by Battle? Something with Leonardo DiCaprio. Have that to watch somewhere.
Oh,
Leonardo, it's 3 hours. It's called One Battle After Another.
Huh.
It's by the guy that did what was the movie? Damn it, with the oil and Daniel Day-Lewis, and I just saw it. Paul Thomas Anderson, I think he did Boogie Nights. He did he's done a bunch of stuff. He did the one with the oil and Daniel Day-Lewis. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know his work that well.
Oh, he did There Will Be Blood. That's a good one with Daniel Day-Lewis, and it's about an oil, like a Western.
Okay.
Really, it's on Paramount. But it's like 2 hours and something. But One Battle After Another is like 3 hours or something. So
yeah, that's long.
You ever seen Boogie Nights?
Oh, a long time ago, yeah.
That's by that guy. What about Magnolia?
Yeah.
The Master with Joaquin Phoenix about Scientology. He does good movies, but the newest one's One Battle After Another. Has Leonardo DiCaprio and Benicio del Toro, so you know you can't go wrong with that.
Oh yeah,
Benicio del Toro. Did I say that right? It's like
Benicio del Toro. Yep.
Is he related to Guillermo?
He's Guillermo's brother. Yes.
I got a weird story about Benicio del Toro. One time I was talking to this chick. Her name was Jack's girl, and she was like a Latino girl. She claimed that she was related to him, and she called him Benny and all this crazy stuff. There's some guy stalking her, and she claimed her brothers killed him and they buried him in her backyard and weird stuff. But just a weird story of someone supposedly related to him. She may have been lying, but who knows? But anyway, on that note, let's end the show on a little murder. Why not? But anyway, everybody have a good weekend. We'll see you not next week, but eat real good because Wendigo, Ravenous. You ever seen that one, that Western Ravenous, where they're like freaking out, eat each other? It's a good one. It's got Robert Carlyle in it. It's a good one, but it's an old Western where everybody eats each other. But anyway, everybody have a good weekend. Good night. Glad I survived. I needed a week off. I get burned out, so I gotta eat turkey and pumpkin pie and rejuvenate with Cool Whip.
Oh yeah.
Some pecan pie, hopefully. Some deviled eggs.
Pumpkin pie over here, man.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Good show. And you're listening to United Public Radio 107.7 FM, New Orleans. Make sure you go to churchofmabusradio.com. churchofmabusradio.com will drop you right in our group. All right. Good night, everybody.